why I can't stand Stephanie White as a basketball coach for Caitlin Clark. Like, I don't think that Stephanie White is a bad coach. Like, don't get it twisted. She's not a bad coach at all. I just don't think she's the right coach for Caitlin Clark. So let's take a listen to this right here. This was on the podcast with Super.
But I think that's even been something like me and Steph have like always talk about when we go and watch film, and even like that New York game where like I played really, really well. Obviously scored a lot of points. I think I had 9 assists or 10 assists that game.
She was a rebound and assist off a 32-point triple-double. And like, is the only reason.
This is about one of the most electric players women's basketball has ever seen being forced into a system that doesn't fit her game. And if you listen closely to Clark's own words, you can hear the frustration boiling underneath. She misses the freedom. She misses the creativity. And yes, she misses her college coach, Lisa Bluder, who handed her the keys at Iowa and told her to go win games her way. The difference between that and what's happening in Indiana right now could not be more stark. From day one at Iowa, Bluder gave Clark a level of control you don't usually see in college basketball, let alone for a freshman. The floor spacing, the constant movement, the green light to shoot from anywhere, pass to anyone, and try plays that weren't in the book. It was basketball without handcuffs, and it worked. Clark didn't just rack up points. She became a walking highlight reel, someone who could turn a game upside down in seconds. That's the version of Caitlin Clark fans fell in love with. The fearless shot taker, the magician with the no-look pass, the player who made every possession feel like something unpredictable could happen. Fast forward to the WNBA, and it's like someone hit the brakes. The Stephanie White offense is a system built on structure, repetition, and caution.
I mean, what's going on here? And I'm sorry, but if Stephanie White's supposed to be this all-world coach, you're not going to show up to a game against the Phoenix Mercury with DeWanna Bonner playing on the other side after what she did to the Indiana Fever franchise, and you show up there and somehow the team is lifeless? Sophie Cunningham coming back to Phoenix and the team is lifeless? That is the...
It's the basketball equivalent of don't spill your drink. And for a player like Clark, it's suffocating. She said it herself. Players don't know where to move, how to cut, or how to create space. It's not just limiting her. It's limiting the entire team's ability to score efficiently. And when you watch the Fever, you can see it. The ball moves slowly. The sets feel predictable. And the creative spark that made Clark a household name feels dulled. The Liberty game is the perfect example. Clark was unstoppable, scoring, facilitating, doing everything to keep Indiana in the fight. But in the fourth quarter, 2 turnovers later, she's benched, just like that. No warning, no play-through-it opportunity, just straight to the sidelines like a kid in timeout. Meanwhile, other players were committing turnovers left and right without so much as a glance from the coach. The difference? They're veterans. They've got that unwritten stay-on-the-floor pass. Clark doesn't. And the frustration was all over her face. No smiles, no interaction with teammates, just a quiet walk back to the bench. In college, those turnovers wouldn't have gotten her benched. Bluder would have drawn up another play for her and told her to go for the kill. Because that's how you build confidence in a star. You let them work through mistakes, knowing that their talent will outweigh their errors. In the WNBA, at least in Indiana's current system,
come back and see this team fully go full circle around their set leader, and I'm still banking on it being Caitlin Clark. Without Caitlin Clark, they had 19 in the one game and 16 in their previous game without CC even playing.
Mistakes mean punishment. And that's the kind of coaching philosophy that can crush a player's creativity. You don't want Caitlin Clark worrying about every single pass, every dribble, every shot. You want her taking chances because those chances are what make her dangerous. And let's be honest, this isn't just a Clark problem. It's a WNBA culture problem. Too often, rookies are expected to know their place while veterans get to do whatever they want. If you've been in the league long enough, you can miss layups, make bad passes, or completely disappear for stretches and still keep your minutes. But if you're a rookie, especially one who plays with flair, the leash is short. That double standard isn't just unfair, it's bad for the game. Because the truth is, Clark's style is exactly what the WNBA needs to grow its audience. Fans don't come to watch safe basketball. They come to watch the impossible happen. And here's where the basketball IQ conversation comes in. Some of the best offensive minds in women's basketball.
The Stephanie White offense compared to what she was doing at Iowa when she took over the world. Let's take a look.
At the college, like, it was very similar. Like, all I would attack, like, we're known to have like 5 shooters on the floor at all time. Like, we played with really good floor spacing, and at Iowa it was the same way. Like, 4 people were on the floor that could shoot at the same time. Then obviously we usually played with a true post, but they rarely missed too. Like Mon never missed. Like Hannah Stolke was tremendous when I was there too, and even our backup post players. Like, I always think about like how Coach Bluder like ran practices and things, and like I'm very fortunate looking back and like now going to like watch other colleges' practices and things like that. Like, she really like was so intentional about like making sure everyone was on.
Basketball aren't even in the WNBA. They're still in the NCAA. Lisa Bluder's Iowa teams didn't have the most athletic rosters, but they played with pace, space, and purpose. They created mismatches, forced defenses into bad rotations, and scored in ways that made games fun to watch. In the pros, you'd think coaches would want to take advantage of having more skilled players, not restrict them. But too often, we see the opposite. Systems that slow the game down and punish risk-taking. And for a player like Clark, that's a recipe for frustration. When you take away a star's freedom, you're not just hurting their numbers, you're hurting the team's energy. The Fever without Clark's creativity look flat. They look predictable. And worst of all, they look beatable, even against teams they should be able to handle. That's the danger of prioritizing safe basketball over dynamic basketball. You might avoid mistakes.
Over 10 years that Caitlin Clark has something to do with that, man. They was 8-5 with Caitlin. At the end of the day, no matter how many games they win, they lost more games without Caitlin Clark playing. Like, so everybody argument that Caitlin Clark is the Achilles heel, Caitlin Clark is this and that, your argument is obsolete, bro. They will forever have that notion on there, that blemish on there. Now, if they would have won more games, lost less,
but you also avoid highlight plays, momentum swings, and those moments that make fans jump out of their seats. The fix isn't complicated. Coaches need to adapt their systems to fit their players, not the other way around. If you've got Caitlin Clark, you don't try to mold her into a safe system player. You build the system around her strengths. You give her shooters to space the floor, a pick-and-roll partner she trusts, and the freedom to make the defense guess on every possession. And yes, you live with the turnovers because the payoff is worth it. Right now, the WNBA has a golden ticket in Caitlin Clark. She's the kind of player who can put butts in seats, boost TV ratings, and bring in new fans who've never watched a women's game before. But if the league and her own team keep clipping her wings, that ticket's going to turn into a wasted opportunity. The Fever don't just need her to be good, they need her to be herself, and the league needs her to be unleashed. Because without that, you're not just slowing down a player, you're slowing down the future of the sport. But here's the thing about stars like Caitlin Clark. You can't box them in forever without something snapping. Fans can see it, teammates can feel it, even opponents can sense when a player's game has been dimmed. And that's exactly what's happening here. The Caitlin Clark we saw at Iowa was a storm, unpredictable, relentless, and impossible to fully prepare for. The Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White's offense feels like a storm trapped in a bottle. The pressure's building, but the release never comes. And when it does, it's often followed by a quick trip to the bench. Let's rewind for a second and talk about that Liberty game, because it wasn't just a coaching decision, it was a message. You don't bench your star in crunch time unless you're making a point. The problem is the point wasn't we're protecting you, it was we're controlling you. And for a player whose success has been built on autonomy, that's a dangerous message to send. Clark wasn't just playing well that night, she was orchestrating the game.
White, Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White remains fully confident in her team following Thursday's deflating loss. The veteran coach sent a clear message. It was a 35-point ass drubbing. It was deliverance and Ned Beatty. Anybody seen that? Squeal like a pig? Yeah. The Phoenix Mercury bleeped the shit out of the Indiana.
Every possession ran through her hands, and the Liberty's defense couldn't keep up. But 2 turnovers, both of them aggressive plays trying to make something happen, were enough for White to pull the plug. And you have to wonder, would this have happened to a veteran? Would a player with 5 or 6 years in the league be yanked for the same mistakes? All signs point to no. This is where the double standard in the WNBA comes into full view. Rookies are treated like they're still in tryouts, no matter how much they've already proven. And in Clark's case, that's absurd. She's not just another rookie. She's the face of the franchise, the reason Fever games are selling out, and the primary driver behind the team's biggest wins. But in this system, her leash is shorter than anyone's. This isn't just about minutes on the floor, it's about momentum. Basketball is as much mental as it is physical. When you pull a player during a hot stretch, you don't just stop their scoring, you break their rhythm, you plant seeds of hesitation. Suddenly, every pass or shot comes with the thought, if this doesn't work, I'm sitting. And that's exactly the kind of mindset that kills creativity. Clark's game has always been about taking chances, seeing a play before it happens and going for it, even if the odds aren't perfect. That's what made her so dangerous in college. That's what made fans fall in love with her game. And that's what's being chipped away every time she's benched for daring to be bold. Now let's talk about the difference in coaching philosophy between Lisa Bluder and Stephanie White, because it's night and day. Bluder coached to her players' strengths. If Caitlin was hot, she fed her the ball and gave her space to operate. If she made a mistake, Bluder trusted her to make up for it on the next possession. That trust built confidence, and confidence built highlights.
Stephanie White has a clear conundrum on her hands, and she needs to figure out a solution to this problem before it's too little, too late. When Caitlin Clark was out with injury, Natasha Howard played well. Natasha Howard played well enough that kept us afloat along with Ari McDonald, along with Kelsey Mitchell, but Natasha Howard wasn't nearly as much of a hinder to the offense with Caitlin.
White's approach is the opposite. The system comes first. The plays are run exactly as designed. Deviations aren't celebrated, they're punished. And while that might keep things safe, it also makes the team predictable. And in professional basketball, predictability is a death sentence. The other side of this, and something fans are starting to notice, is how different the Fever look without Clark on the floor. When she was injured, the ball movement slowed, the offense stalled, and the team's scoring dipped. Yes, other players stepped up here and there, but the energy wasn't the same. Clark doesn't just contribute points, she changes the pace of the game. She forces defenses to stretch, she opens lanes for her teammates, and she makes the Fever harder to guard. Without her, teams can settle in and play straight-up defense without worrying about the unexpected. And that's the irony of the whole situation. The very thing that makes Clark special is what's being suppressed. Her unpredictability isn't a liability, it's her superpower. The willingness to throw a risky pass or pull up from deep isn't recklessness, it's calculated chaos. It's what turns a routine possession into a viral highlight. And in today's sports landscape, highlights aren't just entertainment, they're marketing gold. The WNBA says it wants to grow its audience, but here it is taking the most marketable player it's had in years and forcing her into a system designed to play it safe. Look around the league and you'll see the same problem in other places. Systems that value control over creativity, experience over innovation. And it's not just about winning games, it's about winning fans. Basketball isn't meant to be a slow grind of predictable plays. It's meant to be a spectacle, something that makes you lean forward in your seat because you don't know what's coming next. Right now, the Fever are leaning too heavily on structure and not enough on star power. And let's not pretend this is all about protecting Clark from mistakes. The truth is, veterans get away with more in this league. There's an unspoken hierarchy where rookies have to earn their freedom over years, no matter how talented they are. That might have worked in the past, but it's outdated now. The game moves faster, the audience is more engaged, and stars emerge earlier than ever. Holding them back for the sake of tradition doesn't just hurt their development, it hurts the league's growth. For the Fever, the path forward is simple. Stop trying to fit Clark into the system and start building the system around Clark. Give her the shooters and spacing she had at Iowa. Let her run the offense her way for stretches and see what happens. If it works, ride the wave. If it doesn't, make adjustments. But don't kill the creativity before it even has a chance to spark. Because here's the truth. The Fever aren't just competing for wins. They're competing for relevance in a crowded sports market. And the way you win that battle isn't by playing it safe. It's by giving fans a reason to watch. Caitlin Clark is that reason. She's the player who can make a casual fan tune in for the first time and stay for the whole game. She's the player who can turn a mid-season matchup into a must-see event, but only if she's given the freedom to be herself. The more the Fever limit her, the more they limit their own potential, and the more they risk losing the momentum Clark brought with her from day one. This isn't about tearing down Stephanie White as a coach. It's about recognizing that different players need different approaches. Clark isn't a system player. She's a system breaker. And that's not a bad thing. That's what makes her great. But it also means she needs a coach willing to lean into that greatness, not pull it back every time it threatens to color outside the lines. Because the lines in basketball aren't there to trap you. They're there to frame the art you create inside them. Right now, Clark's art is being kept in a sketchbook. It's time to put it on the wall for everyone to see.